I think oftentimes people are unwilling to just, in the early days, just hustle and do the work. And the example that I give is like in the early days of Flywheel, my partner Rick and I, Tony's building the platform, and my partner Rick and I are, on the phone talking to potential customers. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, first-time entrepreneurs, early stage folks, and and they're not hustling in that way, right? They're kind of afraid to just like roll up their sleeves and just do whatever it takes.
Hello, this is Marco LeRock. Welcome to Marco LeRock TV. My name is Marco LeRock. I'm your host for Inside a Great Mind, where we interview entrepreneurs, game changer, achiever for the purpose to inspire and inform you. Today, we are at Flywheel. We're on the company that's thriving here in the Midwest with one of the co-founder, Dusty
Davidson. Yeah.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing really well. Thanks so much for having me.
Has been a while.
I know. We go back a long ways. But,
yeah. I walked in, I was like, wow, I was very impressed for what you guys have built.
Yeah, we've kind of been heads down for a while, but I see friends who come in here and haven't been been by Flywheel in a long time, and they walk in, they're like, oh my gosh, Flywheel's almost 250 people at this point, and so it's grown quite a lot over the last couple of years.
So tell us who's Dusty Davidson.
I'm a technology entrepreneur. Started a couple of companies. I grew up in Iowa. Kind of always was fascinated by software and technology, and got my start in software engineering. And over the years, over the last probably decade or so, have built a couple of different organizations. And the most recent one is Flywheel.
So your strategy has been like, build them and then get rid of them, start another one. Is that your model?
Well, I don't know. That's what it kind of looks like.
Yeah.
But really, it's just been about finding an opportunity, building it until the point at which it doesn't make sense to carry on, and then start something new to kind of sort of leverage the things that you've learned and the people that you've met. And what you know about the world to do something different. And so Flywheel has been around about 7 years now, just over. We sold the company actually in June, but we, my partners and I will stay on and keep going and keep driving it, because this isn't the end of that's not the end of this journey for us. And so it's not really about doing it and then starting a new thing. It's mostly just about finding the right opportunity that you can scale and grow with extraordinary people.
So tell me more about the company Flywheel. What kind of product services you guys are out there?
Yeah, so Flywheel is a platform for hosting and building sites that are built on the WordPress content management platform. WordPress is a content management system. It's open source. It's the most popular tool to build websites in the world. About 1 in 3 websites on the internet runs WordPress. And so we really make the experience of building and launching sites on WordPress really, really beautiful and easy, specifically for designers and agencies, people who build websites for clients. And so we host hundreds of thousands of websites, from really tiny blogs all the way through Fortune 500 websites, and so kind of everything in between. And we build the software that helps those designers and agencies really build and launch those sites.
So as far as pricing, how does it work for those engineer or designer to come and work with you guys or use you guys' products?
Yeah, so we charge per site. So if you have a site, you can, and it's really based on how much traffic that site gets. So we have plans that range from $25 all the way through many thousands or tens of thousands of dollars a month. So the majority of people are paying somewhere between $25 and let's say $150, depending on how many sites they have and how much traffic they have, whether they're e-commerce or things like that.
So what part of work do you guys just in Omaha? You guys have clients all over? What type of clients do you guys have?
Yeah, so Flywheel has customers all over the world. People come to us from all over the U.S. and all over the world and can just buy online, and many of them talk to our sales team. And so about 40% of our customers are international.
Okay.
And the rest are spread all around the U.S. I mean, we have lots of customers in Nebraska, obviously, but the majority of customers, the vast majority, it's less than 1% would be in Nebraska. The vast majority are spread across the country and around the world.
So you guys have grown quite a bit from, I believe, 2013 with 5 employees to like hundreds. What can you attribute that success to?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that make Flywheel, that set Flywheel up for success. I think number one, my partners and I have 2 partners, Tony and Rick. We had worked together many years ago, and we know each other. We share the same values and the same drive and passion. And so really, I think getting the founding team right is a key to any successful venture. Two, along with that, we come from the market that we sell to. So,
okay.
So like my first company, we were building websites, and so we kind of are building Flywheel for ourselves, right? Like we are the customer, and there's millions of customers like us around the world, and so I think that plays a huge role as well. And then lastly, we've continued to invest in extraordinary people on the Flywheel team, and my philosophy has always been that if you get the people part right and sort of inspire them down a path and just kind of get out of the way, that's the formula for building truly big and long-lasting, impactful companies. And I think Flywheel is an example of that. We got a long way to go, but I think our trajectory is in part because of that people philosophy.
So what is the story behind the founding of Flywheel? There has to be a story why you guys came together and created this company.
Yeah, I think the story really, my partner Rick was doing freelance design work, and at the time, all of the options for managing and hosting WordPress websites were pretty terrible, and so and they were really built for technical people. They weren't built for designers and creative folks, and you ended up having to spend too much time, tinkering or configuring or worrying about servers or all this kind of crud, and so it was really just kind of. I don't know if there's a big aha moment. It was mostly just kind of the 3 of us, over beers, just saying like, well, what about this? Like maybe
let's try this and that.
and then it was like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And we were young and dumb, so we're like, let's do it.
So I think you have like a great culture here. I see pet-friendly, employee having fun, drinking soda, having all those kind of stuff. How do you engage employee in this new type of environment?
Well, I think a bunch of things. One is that, we've created Flywheel, I would say selfishly, as the place that I would want to go to work every day, right? And so I want to be engaged at work. I want to enjoy the people I'm around. I want to work in a creative atmosphere. And so we create it in that vision, and then hopefully that attracts other extraordinary people as well. I think Flywheel is a very open culture, a very transparent culture. So there's no offices. I don't have an office, and so I spend a lot of time, meeting with the teams, walking around, just saying hi to folks. And I think that, that culture of transparency and openness, I think, like sort of starts with sort of how you see the space, but also transcends to how we communicate or share information or whatever it is. And all of those things together, I think, create a pretty like a culture of trust and a culture of where people are aligned and understand everything that's going on. And so it's obviously, I would say, you look around and people are having fun and they enjoy what they're doing, and that's a piece of it. But all of those things together are what make the Flywheel culture, I think, what it is.
What kind of challenges you guys facing right now?
So I think right now, there's different plateaus in scale, and we're at about 250 now. One challenge is like we got acquired, and so we're trying to figure out what it means to live in a world where we have a sort of a parent company. But for Flywheel, it's mostly about, okay, 250. That's a place where things that you did a year ago aren't working anymore. Whether that's in sales, the sales team is getting bigger, and it's now you have to do things differently, or even the culture, like how you interact with people, how you communicate, all those things kind of at different plateaus change. And I'd say those are sort of just dealing with a new set of challenges for being a company at this scale.
That's awesome. So on the one thing that you guys looking for talent. What kind of talent you guys looking for out there?
Yeah, we hire across the spectrum, but generally speaking, we're looking for software engineers, marketers, sales folks, and customer service. And so, we hire probably 80% of our team here in Omaha, and then about 20% of Flywheel is distributed around the globe. And so, so we look at kind of all regions generally, and then across those major categories.
Okay. So not many startups survive or succeed. What do you think one of the biggest reasons why some startups fail?
Well, I think some of them have really bad ideas. I mean, but honestly, like they don't have customers. That's probably the number one reason why they fail. I think oftentimes people are unwilling to just, in the early days, just hustle and do the work. And the example that I give is like in the early days of Flywheel, my partner Rick and I, Tony's building the platform, and my partner Rick and I are, on the phone talking to potential customers. We had no customers. We were like on the phone making 10 or 20 phone calls a day, like every day, and you're just talking to people. Like, and I think that you talk to a lot. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, first-time entrepreneurs, early stage folks, and and they're not hustling in that way, right? They're kind of afraid to just like roll up their sleeves and just do whatever it takes. And I think that's a big contributor actually, because I actually think that you can work through bad ideas. Honestly, I think that the way that you work through bad ideas is to like talk to more customers. And I think that oftentimes people think that if they build something that like the customers will just come to them. I don't think that's the case.
Who inspires you?
Oh, who inspires me? Well, lots of folks. I will say that like today I'm inspired. I like Satya Nadella at Microsoft. I think
Why?
I don't know. It's like Microsoft was this, like everybody hated Microsoft, right, for years, right? Like it's became like and I also like Bill Gates for the same reason. It's like it's just like have turned Microsoft into this like just extraordinary innovator in the space, and just kind of like changed the entire culture of it. And I think largely attributed to the work that Satya Nadella has done at the top, CEO of Microsoft. And anyway, he's just like super fascinating to me. I'm fascinated by the way in which leaders can cast a vision for an extraordinarily large company into like very distinct and clear and concise ways. Anyway, he's a master at it.
So if you had a power to make one positive change in the world, what would that be?
I don't know. I'm fascinated by. It just goes back to Bill Gates a little bit, actually. I think Bill's focuses a lot on nutrition and education around the world, primarily in Africa. And I think that, I think that there's not like whether it's through illness or malnutrition or access to just basic needs. Like I don't think enough people in the world, frankly, are given the opportunity to realize their full potential, right? And so one of those things, right, whether it's just like, let's just call it nutrition, access to nutrition around the world, sort of like would give more people, in my opinion, the ability to sort of realize what they're capable of before, like rather than sort of like worrying about
anything else,
like where are they gonna find their next meal or whether or not, these sorts of things. And so I tend to like those kind of things. And it's not maybe one power, but like, I think that's extraordinary. People are like extraordinarily have resourceful or like have great potential and ideas, and I think on too many cases around the world it's sort of squandered. Yeah.
What would be your advice, tip to any entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs out there?
My number one piece of advice is just is people, right? And whether that's at the founding stage, you're sort of like, who am I going to partner with? Like, who do I want my co-founders to be? Like that, I think too many entrepreneurs or founders sort of jump into that. And it doesn't, it's like a marriage, right? It doesn't, like, you You can't necessarily just jump into it. But that's a people thing, or who you surround yourself with is a people thing, or how do you think about growth and scale? I think too many entrepreneurs and founders sort of ignore the people side of the business and sort of focus on the tech or sales alone. And I think you have to have a really healthy balance of those things. And so number one piece of advice generally is like pay more attention, more focus on the people aspects of the company.
Dusty Davidson, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.